We are supposed to get a Tommy Robinson fan coming down here next week to talk to me, Danny Roscoe, because he's not actually a coward. So we should actually have a debate with the Tommy Tard, which would be great. But until his next riot, 26th of October, that is what I'm saying. I'm saying, shut up about your free speech. None of you care about free speech because none of you actually come here. You just want Tommy to give you permission to riot. My box and speak to me. Not you, sir. Wait your turn. Not this because you will derail the conversation.
Maybe I'll ask you questions you can't answer.
Can I ask you some?
Go on then.
Okay, let's read from the Talmud.
This man just saying.
First of all, I'm not Jewish.
He's not asking
No,
questions.
And the Talmud is not the word of God.
No, it's not, absolutely. But do you think that we should stand as allies to the people in Israel, the Jews, that say and believe the following? The Christians.
What do you mean by
Considered good, whether Epstein or Weinstein or whatever. A Jew is always considered good, in spite of certain sins which he may commit, nor can his sins contaminate him, any more than dirt contaminates the kernel in the nut, but only soils its shell. A Jew alone is looked upon as a man, the whole world is his, and all things should serve him, especially animals which have the form of men. Thus it is plain that they regard all contact with Christians as contaminating and as detracting from their dignity. They are therefore required to keep as far away as possible from all who live and act as Christians do. Has anyone seen footage? It was a Morgan Spurlock documentary. He was the guy that did Super Size Me, but he went to Israel. And there's this amazing footage of all the Orthodox Jews going, go off, and just shooing him away urgently because they're terrified of his ill hygiene. And they genuinely very much are. Let's look for some more interesting ones. We're reading from the Talmud today because there's a lot of Quran bashers about the place at Speaker's Corner. So that's why we're reading from the Talmud. Christians are to be avoided because they are idolaters. Lest a Jew be the occasion of sin to the idolatrous Christians, according to the precept in Leviticus, do not put a stumbling block before the blind. He must avoid all contact with them on the days when they worship their gods. A Jew must not use anything which pertains to the worship of Christians. It is forbidden to sell to Christians anything connected with their idolatrous worship. And here we're getting pretty heavy. Christians must be exterminated. That's a good one. The followers of that man, whose name is taken by the Jews to mean may his name and memory be blotted out, are not otherwise to be regarded than as people whom it would be good to get rid of. They are called Romans and tyrants who hold captive the children of Israel, and by their destruction the Jews would be freed from this captivity. Every Jew is therefore bound to do all he can to destroy that impious kingdom of the Edomites which rules the whole world. Harm must be done to Christians. A Jew is commanded to harm Christians wherever he can, both indirectly by not helping them in any way and also directly by wrecking their plans and projects. Neither must he save a Christian who is in danger of death. Good must not be done to Christians. In Zohar 125b it says those who do good to the Akum will not rise from the dead. At times it is permitted to do good to Christians, but only in order to help Israel. We've seen that.
I mean, just one observation I have. This, to me, sounds like the opposite of Christianity in a sense. Everything that Jesus Christ commanded us to do, that looks like basically saying the Jews are exempt from that. I mean, that might be just a framework to look at it. That's what it sounds like anyway.
But this is the conclusion that we've reached, is that the Jews had a prophecy. That prophecy was fulfilled by the living Messiah, Jesus Christ. They rejected him, and therefore they have to not just reject the man, but everything he said, and everything that he stood for, and everything that he said that we should be. And the critical example I use of this is love thy neighbour. It's really simple. And it's the reason why we can't have political discussions around left or right anymore, because it's just pointless. We're living in a theological framework where what's going on right now, what's the most important issue on planet Earth right now, is that what are the Jews doing to their neighbours? Can somebody give me a response? I'll see you soon. Bombing them. What did Jesus say to do to your neighbours? Love. Very specifically, love thy neighbour. And they won't even negotiate which I think we are demonstrating here as well on this spot. I've been demonstrating that Zionism is a mind virus, and when I show up in the kafir, interesting things happen which are a bit analogous to Palestine. We don't have it going on right now, but quite often somebody who is defending Israel will stand right here. They won't stand where you guys are. They will come right up to me. They will face the audience and quite literally occupy my land. That is what they do. But it's because the whole thing is a narcissistic mind virus where I believe they're refusing to engage. And they're doing exactly the same thing that they do to the Palestinian negotiator. Forgive me, Sean, I've forgotten his name, and you remember his name. Ismail Haniyeh, yeah, exactly. That's the negotiator for the Palestinian side. They shot him. They refused to do any negotiation. I'm not being shot in the head, but the same basic thing is happening, where instead of anyone engaging with me to explain to me why I'm being arrested and assaulted at Tommy Robinson rallies, I'm being called a clown. Which is why I've shown up as a clown today, because it doesn't matter if I look like a clown and I look ridiculous. I think the Jews are commanded in their supposedly holy books.
To follow up what that man said,
Yeah.
Jesus Christ commanded us to love our neighbour. Now, one of the most misunderstood words in the English language is love. The Greeks had four words for it. I won't go into them now, but essentially, love is not it's not an emotion, it's not a feeling, because you cannot command someone to feel a certain way. Your feelings are a bit out of control. Love means wanting, it's a decision, you will what's good for the other person. So we love the Jews, which means we want what's good for them. And if you're committing a genocide, when you are judged by Jesus Christ, we know what the outcome is. So even what we're saying, that is an act of love. And I would say the evidence at the moment is the Jews are not showing love to, certainly not to the Palestinians, their neighbours, or to the West where they promote moral subversion. But that word love is very important, so sorry.
No, would you agree with me that we talk about the Jews as a geopolitical body quite a lot, and we are actually very concerned for the Jewish people, which is all Jews. That's the category which contains all Jews, rather than the Jews, which is like the British or the Chinese or the Russians, you know. It doesn't include every peasant or everyone living in poverty. But if I say the Jewish people, well, I believe that everything that's going on right now, and has been going on for the last year, or 76 years, makes the world less safe for anyone who happens to have Jewish parents, because they are associated with this thing, this monstrosity that's going on at the moment. So the actions of the State of Israel make every single person who is Jewish by ethnicity more in danger, because they are inextricably linked to this project, whether they like it or not, which is why I say to people, if they are Jewish and they come and talk to me, you have a responsibility to have picked your side by now. You don't, if you do identify as a Jewish person, you don't really get to be neutral. You don't get to say it doesn't involve me, because it's being done directly in your name. So you have more of a reason, more of a responsibility to be on those Palestine protests than I do, really, because it's not being done in my name, but it is being done in theirs. So do we want to read a little bit more? Because, I mean, all I'm trying to demonstrate with this is that this is specifically the Christian lines in the Talmud that are extremely concerning to anyone that thinks of themselves as Christian. It's a tome, yeah.
It's an absolute, huge thing, and it's full of all sorts of very arcane laws about property and diet. So a lot of it is an internal conversation between Jews themselves. But any outgroup, and I guess if you're a Jew, the quintessential outgroup are the people that follow the Messiah that they fail to recognize, and in the end they had him killed.
Now, what is perhaps an interesting point to raise, which I'd never heard until recently, but I think it's very important, is that we find it very shocking that we get referred to as goy in these kind of texts, and that the Jews believe that they have the God-given right to herd.
Well, goy I think means beast.
The goy. Yeah, but we have our own terms for people that get led around by the nose. We also use the term sheep, and we also use the term NPC. These are actually shockingly analogous with the term goy. So actually, it does exist in all sections of society. We can kind of all see that people maybe aren't that capable of making their own decisions because they've got their own lives, and not everyone can be totally invested in politics. But I think it's wrong to take advantage of that, basically, whether it's the Zionists doing it or their stooges, because that's definitely what's going on with Tommy Robinson. The reason I'm really here for the next couple of weeks is that Tommy Robinson has announced his next riot on October the 26th. They won't manage to do any damage to migrant hotels this time because they've been told to go to Downing Street, where the coppers already have pretty heavy-duty guns. So it's a fairly obvious trap. I'm not sure why you'd send thousands of angry men to gullibly go outside Downing Street and get loud, because I've been to Downing Street, you can shout in it, there's not much more you can do there. But why is he doing this? He's doing this because he's being paid to do this, and because they need a narrative, and they need a grievance where white people are feeling like there's this two-tier police system. And what happened at the last one is basically a load of people just got hefty prison sentences. And I just don't want that to happen again. But it is inevitably going to happen again.
Do you think there's a two-tier system?
I think that there's a grievance narrative being hawked upon every race, basically. So I think that if you're a black guy, you can find articles about stop and search and how